Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Before I get into this video, I'd like to ask you all to please leave a like or comment on my video. Consider subscribing to my channel, and if you dislike the content, please leave a comment. Now, I am going to be going over something which I have spoken on before, but this time with a little bit more work done into it. Now, previously I have talked about breaking the MOA Guardian's shield wall. However, with testing done by other players and everything that they've put forward in explaining it to me, I have found several weaknesses to the shield wall. And I'm actually just going to go open out the MOA right now to show it. The Phantasm is also a fantastic shield wall ship, but this here is actually something that you can do to take out these shield walls. Now, where it is down here, MOA Guardian. Now, here's the big secret about the MOA Guardian. It has the ability to deploy a shield field. Now, the shield field module improves its regeneration ability on its shield, and it reduces the amount of damage it takes to 65%. Now, that is the exact amount of damage that it does take. However, when linked up to multiple ships altogether, the damage is reduced even further by making it a multitude of shields put together to form one massive shield. So the armor link actually does that. Now, by studying the weapon and the effects that it has, we can actually look at the ways around the shield link. Now, where is this here again? Shield field. Sorry, it's not a shield link, the shield field. Now, I'm always going to go to this one here to the start, and I'm going to use all of its stats to figure out where we're going to go. Now, activation time is 20 seconds, reactivation delay is 10 seconds, 15 kilometer optimal range, shield resistance when activated 59%, and the gigajoule usage at the bottom is in fuel. Now, there are other things like the fact that I said you're using a newt against the ship which is running this is still going to play an important part. Now, the original plan was to take on a shield field by neuting it out and dropping its power so that it doesn't have any effect. Now, I believe that without any capacitor, the shield field won't be able to reactivate. However, that is not true. The shield field can still reactivate. However, by knocking out the ability of the ship to have a shield invulnerability field that is a lower slot equipment, you actually increase the amount of damage that you do to the ship. Now, without it being able to heal and regenerate, taking out the complete shield on a frigate does 1% damage to the ship, and this can be done instantly by a cyclone with a single hit. And the shield instantly regenerates on that frigate immediately. So here is the battle strategy rerun on taking out the shield field. Now this is tested, so even though I am calling it a theory, the original part of it is going to relate directly into the later part of it. And once the shield is down on the MOA, the shield field does not regenerate all of the shields. And if it is more than one, this tactic will not work. You'd have to have a much larger fleet attacking just that one frigate to do the damage. You might need something like 100 cyclones to break the field shield, which makes it really, really powerful considering that it would need 100 ships just to sustain that type of damage. Now, going down, let's look at what we'd need in terms of. Okay, we already have the build on the ships that are going in. So that's Caracals and Cyclone battleships. Now, there is going to be your only attack option, the Cyclone. Using drones against it isn't a good idea because the drones don't do enough simultaneous damage in one hit. They become ineffective against the shield wall formation. Now, if you have one activating and only one activating, you can actually play the strategy very, very quickly. Now, this works with rapid missile launches at current, and it should still work with rapid missile launches at the later stage when they have nerfed them. Provided that the nerf does go through, I'm not exactly sure that the test server is going to give very good results. So anyway, here's exactly what we need to do. Now you are going to build up your Cyclone battle cruiser. Let me just open it up, and you're also going to be using the MOA shield wall to give you enough power. Now, the way to ensure that you don't end up within the range of your enemy's shield is to make sure that the MOA is orbiting away or approaching with the distance of 25 kilometers from the other MOA. This means if the distance starts to close, the MOA will turn direction and the shield wall will move with it. And all of you have to follow the MOA that is part of your formation. So what you're going to be able to do is rain damage on the frigate first, and when the shield link takes maximum damage, you can actually blow the MOA at that point. Now at that point, the shield link will be down and you can do a massive amount of damage in an instant. The moment the frigate goes down, the MOA is open to attack. So you hold your aim, frigate, then MOA. Now, it doesn't take 10 ships, it takes 20 ships to do what I'm talking about. One ship does 1% damage. So that means if 10 of you hit the ship in one run, that is 10%. And if 20 of you hit it in a single run, that is 20%. With the activation time of 20 seconds and a downtime of 10 seconds, that means you need to hit it a total of um, 5 times before everything is over. With the amount of time that it takes between activations, it will mean 6 complete hits on that shield. Now, during the deactivation phase, you can hit the MOA directly because that will do more damage to the MOA and mean that whatever it's restoring and healing in that process of reactivating isn't going to have a good fallback to the MOA. It might cost it a lot more damage than you'd actually think. So hitting one ship continuously in the armor link is actually the way to do it. Now, what you are going to equip on your cyclones is going to be very crucial. Your grids are going to be more power based on this. Power and navigation rigs are standard on your cyclone to make it a little bit less damage susceptible, so to give it a little bit more tankiness. Now, you can play a full assault version, but I would suggest a full defense version so that your MOA's tank is a little bit tougher to get through. And your fittings are going to be totally defensive to make you extra defensive in terms of that shield wall. Remember, you run 2 MOAs in your formation to give you almost an invincible shield. And during that 10 seconds of deactivation, you have the next shield already up during that time. So you're always in a shield bubble and it's never going to fall for you. That's how come your attack strategy is going to work so well. Now, with all of this being said, you have to understand that there are certain things that are going to hurt you in terms of taking on this wall. Number one, blasting the wall with the cyclone is going to be a viable strategy. But if you leave the bubble, the entire formation will fall apart. So your MOA can't use anything like a micro warp drive or afterburner to get away. And your range has to be close enough that you don't fall out of range of this combat style throughout the entire combat. And in one fleet, you can have 3 MOAs to make it permanent shields with one logistics ship to give them a regen on any shield if someone tries to newt you back. Now, if there is a logistics ship, a support ship in the other fleet, you newt the logistics ship, then the MOA. Now, what that's going to do is once the logistics ship loses power, it will mean the MOA doesn't have a backup source of regen for its armor. And if you take out the frigate fast enough, which should be in about, let's see, with the full 20 ships attacking it. Now, obviously, I'm saying 20, but you don't really have 20 slots worth of ships attacking it. You have a lot more. You have 30 slots worth of ships attacking it. As I said, your caracals, even though they don't have that much of power, can still combine on this attack. Remember, they are in the enemy field and they are being supported within the gain field. All you've got to do is make sure that you keep them just on the bound of spacing. The MOA in their fleet needs to keep the right distance to make sure that they're just outside of range of connecting with the other MOA Guardian. Now, what this is going to do is going to allow you to actually hold on to that ship and you do 0 damage to anything within it. So that is the only other catch. You have to pull your newts back in order to do damage. Even though the MOAs themselves can do damage, So total of 20 ships are going to be firing on that one little frigate. Now the frigate has to be webified so that it takes maximum damage, and one full volley from a cyclone should reduce its shield to zero. Now that ricochets 2000 damage directly to the main ship, because when it stopped and that 59% reduction in damage and everything being added to a regular frigate, it's only supposed to take somewhere like 1000 damage. However, by you slowing it down below the minimum speed, that means like 2 or 3 meters per second, you actually can impact it with an even greater amount of damage. And if the MOA continues to move out, you can play another strategy on this entire effect in the field, and that is pulling ships out of the field and destroying them one at a time. Now, if they do come back to save the ship, you're actually impacting the shield on that MOA continuously over time. Now, depending on how your fleet is working out in terms of assault, you can actually destroy one or two ships from that fleet inside the bubble before the bubble comes up for a second run. That means during that 10-second window, if you hit that frigate and destroy it, you can just target the next frigate and the next frigate and the next frigate and keep going in that route. Or you can all target directly on the MOA in the 10-second window and blow it to smithereens. Now, that is a very dangerous play, because hitting the MOA with enough damage in that 10-second window isn't really a very susceptible thing. Most of the time, the logistics will already have recovered enough power to regen some of the shield. And by the time you start attacking again, the big field is up again supporting the ship. And your attacks will do almost nothing to it at 0%, 0 damage per hit, even if you totally webify it. So the whole idea is to take out whatever is behind that ship during the 10-second window. Now, people don't notice that that 10-second window is actually where the shield starts to fade down, and it is that small time in which the field can't reactivate. And once it reactivates in 30 seconds, there's been 10 seconds of downtime. So what you have to do is perfectly time when the shield starts and when it drops. At the drop of the 20th second, all ships lose the resistance that they had for a few seconds. So by blasting them in that time, you could destroy them. And then once the 10 seconds is over where you can destroy them, the shield will be back up and they will be linked again. So if you didn't totally destroy the ship, you transfer damage over to the MOA and you are winning slowly yet surely. So if you continue with the strategy and you start blowing open, say, 100 ships with your 30 ships, you are actually in the stronger point of winning the fight. Even if they're using stabbers, remember you have to deploy 3 MOAs to counter this. You have a stronger defense than they have. That's how come you can fight for longer. Now, with all of this, if they have faction ships in the entire mix, the damage that the faction ship takes is a much smaller figure than what the MOA takes. Now, this was actually tested on a Phantasm, so 1% of a regular frigate will transfer directly into a Phantasm. Now, a Phantasm shield is a lot stronger than the MOA shield, so everything that I'm saying might not actually need to be as extreme as I am describing it. With the 20 ships attacking that one frigate, you might actually get something like, I'm trying to work this out in my head quickly, about 40% damage on the ship. That there is a lot of damage onto that frigate. So 40% in the time while the shield is active, and that means that that's transferring over to the MOA. So each time it has to recover 40% shield in the 10 seconds when it doesn't have power. That's provided you neutered it at the correct time with enough force to actually hurt its shielding. And if you have continuously done this here with enough fleets and enough overwhelming force, if you deploy 50 ships to take out a shield wall, you still win at the end of the day. And this has been tested, as I am saying, on a Phantasm who has more resistance. If you knock out all of its regen ability, that means if you knock out its capacitor, even with the shield field helping it with even 100 ships, it still takes damage at that 1% rate when you destroy the small ships. If you decide to hit a big ship like a Cyclone or any other battleship, remember that battleships have improved healing. So they will be able to heal more energy on their shield, and that will transfer directly into the moa. So you're not going to do damage to them in that way. However, hitting the frigates will transfer direct damage in because they don't have enough heal to counter that massive damage that you're putting on them. They can't run a medium shield regen because it's greater than their capacitor. And once it activates, they'll go dead in terms of capacity, and you can actually start doing even more damage to them if they knock out their invulnerability fields. So that is the way in which you go and destroy the entire shielding effect from the MOA. Now, once you have destroyed enough ships supporting the MOA, that shield actually becomes weaker and weaker. That means eventually, if you're left with something like 20 battleships and the MOA, you can actually directly attack the battleships in the MOA's field because your 30 or 40 are actually going to have the power to break through. And that is how it's going to go as the battle progresses. And once you have finally destroyed all of the battleships, the MOA is defenseless because even with the shield up, without any other ships in its field, you can do approximately 4% damage per hit to it. Now, I'm saying approximately 4% because you do just around 2% to a phantasm, and that is now being translated over to the MOA. Now, the MOA is half the power of the phantasm. That's how come I'm using a double um, standard. And the other thing with the phantasm is it has shield bonus effects, which is why I'm just counting it at 2%, even though it isn't exactly double its defense. It's just under double the defense, and the only reason for that conversion is the bonuses on the phantasm. And the phantasm is a fantastic ship overall. Now, on your cyclone, you are going to run your standard power rigs. That's going to be your additional capacitor recharge time, reduction in time, your additional capacitor. I know that it has been explained that the additional capacitor does more for your recharge time than the recharge time reduction, but in case the devs patch it, you don't want to have to change a massive system on your ship. And the next thing on top of that is a navigation unit. Speed is always necessary on all of your vessels. Even giving it a 15% or 10% boost makes a big difference. In your combat rigs, you're going to increase your shield gain by 25%, your shield extender by 25%, and your capacitor need, you're going to reduce it by the percentage. That's all going to be level 2. Now, with all of this put onto your cyclone, you have a lot of power. Your low stock is going to run a shield booster, a shield invulnerability field, a shield hardener, the red one, and okay, that's the invulnerability field, and a shield extender, the highest level that you can possibly find. Now that's going to make you have an extended shield, a bigger shield, and it means that you don't transfer too much of damage over to your MOA. And moving on, the next thing in the list is going to be your last two slots. Now, this is where things get a bit different when it comes to each type of play that you choose. In your low slot, you can equip a capacitor battery to ensure that your ship never ever runs out of power so that you can always regain all of the capacitor that you lose, so that your shield is always up and at max strength, so that the MOA doesn't ever really take damage. And you also can run micro warp drive or afterburner to give you speed on the ship. Now, afterburners are going to be the better one to run because they have a bigger amount of application compared to micro warp drives. Micro warp drives drain too much of power and can't be kept active. Now, your 3 mid slots are going to be as follows: 2 Weber fires and 1 warp disruptor. You don't want the ships that you get pulled out of the bubble to warp away to safety. So you're going to disrupt them and hit them and destroy them. If you pull out Dremels and anything like that, the Weber fires will take away all the speed that they have, and your disruptor will ensure that they don't get away anytime soon. So that is your mid slot. Now moving on to the high slot, it's not going to be rapid missiles, it's going to be long range missiles. Now you could use long range, you could use medium rapids. Both will do just around the same amount of damage. The only difference is the range that you can keep on your enemy. With the long range, you're going to have a longer range on your enemies, and with the shorter range, you're going to have a shorter range attack. Now, your drones, it doesn't matter what you put on, you can always launch a drone just to add that little bit of extra damage. Sorry about that. So here is the weapon that you could have used in terms of medium rapid missile launches. This is purely for your assault pearl to break the shield, and this will definitely break a shield. It won't break it in a minute, it might break it in 5 minutes, but that's the whole idea. You want to start making that fleet feel the loss so that no matter how many of them there are, they will eventually pull away from the battle. So there you go. This is the exact missile that you're going to use. You can see that it has a ridiculous value at the moment. Expect it to go down if they do nerf missiles. Now continuing down, your other option would have been these one, your standard medium missiles. And the C type, it's also quite an expensive missile, but this here gives you just a little bit less power in terms of the damage that you do, but it does have a much larger range. And you can also equip this on your MOA to use instead of the railguns, which it does have a bonus effect with. Considering the range on them, it does mean that the MOA will do more damage from a greater distance and that it can take part in the fight even though it is providing you with the wall. So there was everything about the weapon fittings. Moving on, the mid slots, I'll just show you exactly what you needed. Everything is in electronic warfare. So two Predator stasis webifiers. There you go. These are exactly what you need. And looking at the range, you get 14.8 kilometers. That means you don't have to get too close to the ships that you jam. So anything that you are going to jam, you only have to be 15 kilometers away. Make sure you're aiming for something outside of the range of the bubble. So you don't want to get into their range of their bubble because it's 15 kilometers and your bubble is 15 kilometers. At 25 kilometers range, you're going to be orbiting your MOA at around 14 or 13 kilometers so that you can get this lock on the other ship. And that other field is going to be right at the limit for you, provided you can get someone who is a little bit more detached from the fleet. Pulling out ships that come too close to the edge is a good idea for the strategy, and the MOA should be targeting anybody who has done that there so that you can pull them to the side and keep your entire bonus to yourself. Now, that is going to be one of the strategies you can play in terms of combat. Now, moving on, the other thing I said you need is a warp disruptor. Now, the entire fleet doesn't need to run warp disruptors, only about 4 ships do. That will mean you'll have a maximum of 8 disruptor strength. Now, this is a really expensive fit up for this ship, and when I go into the shield boosters, you're going to see where the thing gets even more expensive. Currently, the fittings from the top are almost a billion, and coming down, it's still not yet getting any cheaper. As you can see, it's 61 million. Just to open the market and show that they're within that range. Okay, wait, no, these have fallen in value terribly. So yeah, there's 23 million in the market right now. It's a little bit cheap. It should go up in the next few days. Now, your shield extenders, you're going to go Patriot Medium. Once more, within the 26 value, it should be around there or it's slightly lower for a few days. It's at the roundabout value. So what this is going to do is it's going to extend that shield, and the extended shield damage doesn't transfer over to the MOA. It falls off as excess damage and it doesn't go over. So even if they keep opening fire because those ranges are quite close together, you all can still overpower their fleet regardless of what they have because you are running 3 MOAs in combination. Remember, never ever go up against a combination of MOAs. They can transfer damage between each other and heal off damage from one ship to the next, making it an endless amount of shield that you'd have to go through. And in that case, there will be no winner. You will just fight out for weeks and weeks until one of you gives up. Okay, then moving down into C-type, this is what you need in terms of shield hardness. The more resistance your shield has, even by 1%, the less damage transfers over to your MOA, and the easier it is to run the ship, even if someone tries to newt it. Now, moving on, I did say that you have the option of a capacitor battery. Now, this is a bit of a hard one to explain the real reason for it. The capacitor battery gives you a boost in energy. Now, the boost in energy allows you to regen some of your capacitor. And considering what you are running on your ship, you can actually run cap stable while completely recharging and running your shield non-stop. And running this will allow you to keep it going for longer and longer. So you don't have to drop your shield and your recharge anytime while you're inside the field. So there's no damage really transferring over to the MOA, considering the resistance you're getting pulling your ship up to over 95%. And at 95% damage reduction, 5% is what you take to your shield, and the MOA will only experience a portion of that 5% as its own damage when it heals you. Now, I did say you could use an afterburner or a micro warp drive, and here is the reason why. Now, this doesn't reflect the final gain that you have. 153% will turn into 180, 190% depending on your level of afterburner. If you're at max, it will be almost 200%, meaning that your small ship can move at over 620 plus 10%. Uh, Almost 700 meters per second. So with that type of velocity, it really does give you a lot of additional speed. And this is definitely going to be something that you want added into your entire ship. And the activation time also increases with the number of research, with the amount of research you've put in. So it uses less and less power the better that field of research is. Now, the micro warp drive was another option, but here is the reason why you don't want it. If you use up too much of power in the fleet, that means that you don't have a chance to really get back in terms of power. Considering that it does almost 80 extra consumption on power in the same time as the afterburner, it's really quite heavy. Even though it does give you a greater amount of power, as you can see, capacitor multiplier negative 25%. So it does impact your capacitor negatively by 25% having this on the ship. So you lose 25% of your capacitor. And a smaller capacitor means higher recharge times and lower regen figures. So this is why it isn't good to keep on a ship. Now, this is only for PvP in the sense of a shield breaking wall. In all other senses of PvP, the gain from a micro warp drive is far better than its negative backlash. So remember to use these things when fighting against other players, and it will definitely give you an edge. Now, I'm not going through the fittings in the rigs, but I did go through all the fittings on the actual ship itself. So that's the type of ship you need to bust a MOA guarding war. If you have a Phantasm, it will take double the time that it will to get through a MOA. So expect your fight to take somewhere between 10 to 15 minutes. And against a MOA, expect your fight to be between 5 and 7.5 minutes. Because that's how long it should take you to break through the shielding effect with everybody muting it every 2 minutes. That means every 2 minutes you should expect the entire ship to go down in terms of power. That's with the right amount of players muting it and with the right amount of players providing a shield wall. If you do play it correctly, you only need 3 MOAs. That's if you can make a tight enough formation that everybody can be within 15 Ks of the 3 MOAs and hit their targets perfectly without breaching the range of your enemy bubble. Remember, if you enter into your enemy's bubble, you don't do the damage. So you have to make sure you're on the right side of your bubble when attacking the enemy. And this is how you actually break that wall. This is a viable strategy, however, it does take a lot of time, and you will win using it over prolonged battles. But if you intend to win in a short form fight, this isn't the way to go. A short form fight will need more research done and a better type of formation of ships. Now, there is something which would work a lot better, and that is the Harbinger ships. So, if you were running a Harbinger fleet with shield regen purely because you're going to be using MOAs as your shield wall, you could actually break that defense on the MOA a lot faster. However, taking down the ship completely might not be as easy with the lasers due to the amount of time that it will take to break the ship. So that is the only catch. You could use harbingers in the place of cyclones. You will do double the damage to the shield. That means where 4% was carrying over, it will now be turned to 8% carrying over. And on a phantasm where it was 1% carrying over, it's going no sorry where it was 2% carrying over, it'll be double. It will be 4% carrying over. Where it was 1%, it will be 2%. So everything will work like that there if you're using the lasers with the Harbinger fleet. The only problem with this is running your Harbingers like this here may not be the best usage of them in combat, because you have to wait for the next level to get the best Harbingers. And remember, your Harbinger is just a prototype, so you are slightly under on power. You could even use another strategy in that same place with another ship which has enough firepower to break it. You could use Gilas or Phantasms just to break the shield wall around a Moa Guardian. And that is the basic on this here. If you actually have a fleet full of Phantasms, you all can run infinite shield and guard each other while attacking, and you will still do way more damage than the Cyclone formation. But that is a very expensive attack fleet. It's even more expensive than burning up a Cyclone for 2 billion ISK. So thank you all for watching. Hope you have had a good time watching this video.